Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host and international award-winning speaker, Jeff Marconette Jr. Now on this show, we love to have your feedback. We love to have your interaction. So if you would please give us all kinds of likes, hit that button when you hear something you like. Share what you like in the timeline right there or in the comments right there. If you're watching live, tell us you're watching live. Tell us where you're from. If you're watching in the replay, put hashtag replay in the replay or on the video in the comments. I don't know. But we appreciate you so much for watching this, and I hope that you will share this out with somebody. Let somebody know to watch this video because it will be beneficial to someone, I guarantee it. Now, I would like to introduce Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I am going to be inviting some people here on my phone. So I'm listening and I'm paying attention. I'm just looking down at my phone. But I would like to say hi to Jeff Marconette, who's my dad, and he's watching from across the street right now. And then hi to Jordan Nichols, who is watching from Pickwa, Ohio. And if we have anybody else out there, tell us where you're from, where you're watching from. We would love to give you a shout out. So if you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself, Lindsay, I'll let you go ahead and do that because I'm going to be inviting a few people.
Okay. Well, I'm Lindsay Berman, and I'm a men's trauma coach. I'm also a registered social worker. I'm a special education teacher. I'm a poet, and I'm a proud husband and father to a 13-year-old daughter.
That is awesome. Now, did you say where you're from?
No, I'm from Toronto, Ontario.
So you're from Canada?
I am Canadian, eh?
I don't know if I should allow you on this show now.
Where are you from, Jeff?
Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you.
That's all right. I was in Ohio a long time ago.
Yeah, what for?
It was a trip with the synagogue that I belonged to at the time.
What?
We went to stay with another group of kids who were getting their confirmation as well, and it was somewhere around Cleveland.
That's cool, man. I'm glad that you were in Ohio. Did you like it?
Yeah, the little bit that we weren't really there to do sightseeing. It was more the few days that we were there was all scheduled, for the two classes, but good vibes, good people.
That's awesome, man. So what exactly is it that you do in Toronto, Canada?
In Toronto, Canada, well, like I shared, so I'm a special education teacher. I teach high school kids with learning challenges. I've been trying to take the word disability out of my vocabulary, and I actually want to write the Minister of Education and ask him to remove that, because I think disability adds a stigma, whereas challenges is much more politically correct, I think. So I work with kids.
I love that.
Yeah, it's, you know what, we're in 2021, and I just think that we need to change the language a bit when it comes to special needs students.
Yes.
So I do that, and then, like I shared, I do coaching for men. Main focus is trauma, but I've done coaching with men for relationships, some marriage stuff, some stuff around mindset and limiting beliefs. And I'm an avid poet. I love to write poetry. Wow. I've been writing poetry for 40 years now.
That's pretty cool, man. I have to say, that's pretty cool. And I love that hat too. So,
Thank
all
you.
right. But if you would like to go ahead and tell the challenges that you've had in your life, we can pay attention to that.
All right. Well, I think probably the most significant challenge to talk about the most recent one, and that was a traumatic brain injury I had in January of 2019. So, January of 2019, my wife, my daughter, and I were getting ready to go skiing. Went down to the basement, headed towards the crawl space where the ski equipment is. And for some reason, that particular morning, I guess I wasn't paying attention, and I hit what I found out afterwards was a small nail protruding from a 2x4.
Ooh.
But I hit that with full force right on the crown of my head. And I had a dent in my head for 7.5 months. I was off work for a year and a half.
Man,
I
that's
went
crazy.
back to teaching last year in September 2020, and it actually worked out well because I was moved to online. So it was a little bit easier than being right back in the classroom. Definitely some challenges, but made it through. And then this year, when I went to start back again, now I'm back in the physical classroom, and they've got this hybrid thing going on where you're teaching simultaneously to the students physically in the class and the students that are learning online. And between that, and I think all the cognitive stuff that was coming at me because it's a new year, so there's lots of paperwork, especially with special education and forms. After the fourth day, I came home and I said to my wife, I said, I cannot do this. And she said, what do you mean? I said, you know what? I said, on a good day, I have about 3 hours, maybe 4, of cognitive productivity. But that's like an hour break, an hour break, an hour break. In my position, at the beginning of the school year, I need to be able to work 10 or 12-hour days.
Yeah.
And I cannot do that with the cognitive challenges I have right now. So I thought to myself, it's not fair to the students. It's not fair to the parents of those students. It's not fair to anybody for me to show up as a teacher at 30%. That's just not fair. So I spoke with the principal and I spoke with the vice principal. I told them where I was at. And I said, listen, it's not that I don't want to work. I can't. I don't have enough cognitive energy to do what I have to do at a professional level right now. Because even if I pushed myself, one of two things is going to happen. Either A, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown mentally because I'm pushing myself way more than I should be, or B, I'm going to fall so far behind that come Christmas, I haven't even finished half the stuff that I needed to finish in September. So taking a leave from teaching was the right thing to do. That was me honoring me. My body's saying, you can't do this. Don't pretend that you can. And I honored that and I respected that. So I took the time off.
I don't know if you know my background at all, but I was in a very severe car accident. They didn't think I would live, and I spent 3.5 months in the hospital and 2.5 in a coma. Now, I also had a traumatic brain injury, and that's what makes it more difficult to walk, more difficult to talk. And I can relate to your story because I know the effects of a traumatic brain injury. Now, while they all might be different, they're all the same in offering us challenges. And it's really something to be proud of that you have risen to those challenges and you have accepted those challenges for what they are, because they are just challenges. They're not anything that you can't beat. You might have to do things differently. You might have to take your time with certain things, but you're still able to do those things. And that's why I like your challenge and changing that word disability to challenge. Now, I have a different saying. I say they are different abilities because I think the word disability is a disservice to someone with different abilities because
Absolutely.
they still have abilities. They're just different than the abilities that somebody else has.
Yeah.
So
Well said.
I really respect everything that you have gone through. Now, what was the hardest thing for you to come to? I mean, all right, was it difficult to go to your boss and tell them that you can't do this?
No, I didn't have a difficult time with that at all. I think for me the most difficult thing was, and I would say it's still somewhat there, but I'm getting a lot better. So my two biggest things that I've been struggling with for the last 2.5 years is my short-term and working memory and my processing speed. And I was just saying to somebody the other day, and I said, it's not a poor me. I said, what it is me wrapping my head around the fact that this could be my new normal. I don't know. All I know is it's been 2.5 years. I'm still struggling with the memory issue. I'm still struggling with the processing issue. Balance, focus, and coordination. Sometimes those are affected as well. And it's interesting because my younger brother got a concussion about 2 months before I had mine from a skiing accident, and he was fine within about 3 or 4 months. And I remember being on the phone with my mom about 5 or 6 months into my recovery, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, and you poor thing, and I hope you'll get better soon. And mothers, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, listen, I said, I'm not saying this to be a martyr, Mom. I said, but I want you to listen to me clearly. And you've already touched on one of the things that I'm about to say. So I said, listen, I said, is it challenging? Absolutely. I said, have I got myself in a position where I have to do the things that I used to do slightly different? Yes. Are there some things that I cannot do at all? Yes. Are there some things I need to do a little bit slower? Yes. But overall, I'm healthy. I have all my
Mhm.
faculties. I can bathe myself, dress myself. I can do everything I did before. So all I was trying to say to her was, don't worry about me, because there are hundreds of millions of people who have it 10 times worse than I do.
Yep.
And I still stand by that. You know, it is what it is. I mean, listen, you and I both know, Jeff, we always have a choice. So I can say, you know what? Woe is me. I have a brain injury. I'm not going to do anything with my life until I'm completely healed. So I'm just going to sit at home and I'm going to collect unemployment. I'm going to watch movies and gain some weight by eating popcorn and all that. Or I can say, you know what? These are the cards I've been dealt with right now. I'm going to play these cards the best way I can, and that's all I've been doing. You know,
Yeah.
the
That,
the, the poor
that's
me doesn't take us anywhere. It just takes us down into more self pity, and I don't need that. That's not going to move me forward with things I want to do in my life.
yes. That those words are so wise, and I really appreciate you coming to talk a little bit about your traumatic brain injury. But I also want to touch on one other thing. Now, I happen to know that you were a high school dropout at one time, and you decided to go back to school at what age?
I went back to university at 37.
37.
Yes.
So that's going to show you one thing, guys, that it's never too late to start something new.
No.
You can't write yourself off because of your age. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I want him to tell us a little bit about his journey through university.
Sure. So I went back to university at 37. I went back full time. I went for 5 years. I went to summer school for July and August for 2 years. And what happened was I was not doing well in my psychology class. And I went to speak to the guidance counselor. And she basically said to me, well, drop the psychology so it doesn't affect your overall GPA. And she said, you told me that you want to go into social work. And I said, I do. She goes, well, why don't you start taking the maximum amount of courses you can? Because when you if you get accepted in the social work program, you could probably knock that off in 1 year as opposed to 2 years. So I went to summer school for 2 summers, took the maximum amount of social work courses I could get, got into the social work program after I finished my 3-year BA, did my social work degree, and then I think it was about halfway through the social work degree, I was in my practicum and I was working with a Children's Aid Society, and I started thinking, I'm going to finish the degree, but I'm not sure if this frontline child welfare is for me. And I thought, what do I love and what could be an option just in case? And I thought, I love people, I love kids. So when I finished my social work degree, I had already applied to Teachers College, and I did 1 year of Teachers College. Excuse me. The funny part was I went in for an interview about 6 or 7 years ago, and the woman interviewing me turned to me and she goes, I think you have an error on your resume. And I said, oh, where? She goes, well, it's showing that you did your BA and your Bachelor of Social Work and your Bachelor of Education all in 5 years. She goes, that's not possible. And I said, well, actually it is. And I told her what I just shared with you. And I added that by saying, listen, I said, I went back to university at 37. I went to the pub one night with some of my peers in my class, and that was it. I went there with a very strict mission: get in, do what I have to do, and get out. And that's what I did.
That's really cool.
And the funny thing was that I'm sitting in some of these lectures with some very young kids.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in one class and these kids were yapping behind me. I just turned around, very politely, I just said, guys, if you don't mind, I'd really like to hear the professor. And they said, oh, you're such a keener. And I thought, I don't know what a keener is. So I came and asked my wife. She said, a keener is somebody who's always paying attention to the teacher or the professor. I said, well, that's me. I'm paying for my education now. I don't want to hear the kids talk. I want to hear what the professor's saying.
Yeah. True.
So the biggest thing, and I'm only saying this because you made a comment, I think you've made it twice now, it's never too late, was I remember the very first year, my first year of university, and it was November, and I had a history essay. And I remember sitting there in my office and saying to myself, what have I signed up for? Like, I left high school 22 years ago. What am I doing? I'm not cut out for this. And then I reminded myself, and I said to myself, but you made a commitment to yourself. Come hell or high water, you're going to do your best, and you're going to finish it. So I went back to finishing that history essay. And the nice thing was that I actually won an award when I finished Teachers College for professional and academic excellence. So that was a really nice way to cap off my 5 years at university.
That's great. That's fantastic. Now, on this show, we generally like to help other people. So I have to ask, do you have any suggestions for somebody else that is dealing with something? Now, it might be like a TBI. It might be the fact that they're starting something new later in life. Can you offer suggestions for people that are going through something like that?
Sure. So first of all, if anyone is suffering from traumatic brain injury, I would share the following. One, make sure that you have a good neurologist that's watching over you. Make sure that you are not pushing yourself mentally, getting enough rest. Make sure you're exercising. Make sure you're having a healthy diet. I'm not saying you can't have a Big Mac or French fries, but I find when I eat healthy, it helps me mentally as well.
Yeah.
I also think that's important to keep a journal, so you kind of track your symptoms. I know that's worked for me. So if 3 or 4 weeks go by or 5 weeks go by, and I'm feeling something different, I can go back and I can say, oh, well, you know what? The last 5 weeks, I have not recorded this feeling once. Okay, that's something I can speak with the doctor next time I see the doctor. So we kind of have to be our own advocates, right? Doctors are doctors, but the only person that's really going to watch out for you is you. So you have to stay on top of your own recovery. And then for anybody who's thinking about making any changes, regardless of how old you are, my suggestion would be this. If there's something that you want to do not let anyone or anybody stop you. Most importantly, yourself. I spent 20 years, without going into a long story, we'll just say 20 years in a very dark place. And I know now, looking back, that a lot of reasons why I was stuck in that dark place for so long was because of my self-talk. And, Buddha says we become what we think about. So if you're talking to yourself negatively day in, day out, you can't expect to produce positive things in your life. But if you're giving yourself positive self-talk and you're taking and implementing action steps, then you will get eventually to the goal that you're trying to achieve.
So I must ask now, do you use affirmations?
I do.
And can you give us an example of those affirmations?
Sure. So one of the ones that I like to say often is, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm living life on my own terms, that I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I have everything I need.
That is fantastic. Now, I heard you say something about journaling. Now, that brings me to my shameless plug here. Now, I'm sorry I have to do this. I don't have to, but I want to. You see, this is my journal. It is called Make Every Second Count, a 1,500-hour journal. Now, it is 1,500 hours because it is 9 weeks. Now, this isn't the same kind of journaling that you discussed. This actually offers you prompts on things to write about and ways to change your perspective on certain things. Now, the journal was designed by a lady that designs curriculums for Atlanta public city schools. So it's really done well and done right. Now, you can actually get this journal, and I'm going to give each and every one of you a special gift. If you go to www.jeffmarconette which you can see up on screen here, .com/journal, you can actually download the first 7 days of that journal for free. Now, you have to enter a little information there, but you can download it for free. And if you like it, you can purchase the entire journal on that website. Or if you have Amazon Prime, you can purchase it from there. But you can also just say no thank you and don't get it. That doesn't bother me because I'm trying to change the world, and I am changing the world. So, Lindsay, is there any contact information you would like to give out to our listeners?
Well, I did put down my LinkedIn thing, but I'm not sure if the whole thing got in there or not.
Just a minute. I'll put you up on screen.
Okay, yeah, so that came in. Yeah. I'm going to put my email in the chat because I don't think I can put anything else there. And there's my cell phone number. So there's my email, l_berman@rogers.com. And I put my cell phone number there. Are you going to come back?
So did you happen to say, I can't recall, but did I hear before that you had a book or something?
I did write a book. Yes, I wrote a book. I guess it would be about 10 years ago now, and it was a little book of little quotes. So for many years, I'd be writing like little quotes on a cigarette package or a matchbook or the back of a napkin or a scrap piece of paper. And one day, I guess it's closer to about 11 years ago now, I kind of thought, I wonder if I have enough of these little quotes to actually make a book. And lo and behold, I did. And I self-published that book. I've given out quite a few copies, sold a few copies. And the book is called There's Nothing More Special Than Now. And that was a direct reference to my daughter, who was only about 2 at the time. My daughter has been kind of my muse in regards to keeping me present and reminding me that now is all we have. Because every time we wake up tomorrow, it's today, and yesterday's gone. So we always have today, but that's all we have is just today.
That's great. Now, I actually was talking to somebody, and I was at, as you call it, the pub, but it was a bar here in my town, and he was saying that yesterday was a gift. Tomorrow is a tomorrow is no, yesterday is the past. Tomorrow is a gift, and today is your present.
That's right.
So I find that pretty amazing because that lines up with like what your daughter says, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all like to think we're going to have long, healthy lives,
Yeah,
right? But
but
the
you
reality
can't
is,
guarantee that.
you can't live that way. You've got to wake up every day and treat the day as like a blank canvas, because you can accomplish a hell of a lot in a single day if you're focused and you know what you're doing.
All right, that's great, man. So where can people get this book if they want?
Well, at this point, they'd have to. I put my email address
Okay.
in the chat box. So if someone was interested in a copy of the book, they could just send me an email, or they could send me a message on LinkedIn.
All right, that's awesome. So we thank you, Lindsay, so much for being here tonight. I know you have a busy schedule and definitely appreciated you being here. But I need everybody out there, including you, Lindsay, to do me a favor. I need you to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life. Hey guys, I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, have a great week. Thank you again, Lindsay.